Hey, I'm Justin.
This is Chaz.
Join us as we look back together, but learn to stay present.
Come with us as we rise up with hope on the horizon.
This is the podcast of extraordinary millennial gentlemen.
All right, well, for everybody, this is my friend Ioua. He has graciously come to our podcast. He's also a podcaster, and you can do a little plug for your podcast here if you want. But he's going to be joining the conversation today, and Justin is audio only. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining. Ioua, so tell us a little bit about your podcast. What's going on there? How long you been doing that?
For
How
sure.
do they find you?
So my podcast's name is hashtag Lakers Podcast. So, I mean, if you're not a Lakers fan, you're probably not going to listen to it.
Yeah. Don't listen.
Unless you're just, an NBA fan in general, want to listen to perspectives of different fan bases. So we started, just in January this year. We have about 20 episodes, and we try to do it weekly. It's been hard with the pandemic, which we'll get to, right?
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, it's hashtag Lakers Podcast. We're available on Apple Pod, Spotify. We're also on Twitter. We comment daily on Twitter, and you can find us at hashtag LakerPod.
Sweet. No, I like it. I'm curious because this kind of just rolls right into the topic today. So everybody, we're covering current events, right? You always get some unique insights, I think, to this whole experience, and hopefully, I thought it was great to hear, and I don't know all the details yet either, so I'm curious. But with the podcast, like, from what I understand, like, it's best when games are going on, right, for the Lakers. Like, so are they going to play? Like, it's been a while. Like, everything's on pause. So, how's that affected the podcast? This whole COVID side of things, as well as the games, and I know you're a big fan. So that's what's your perspective there?
No, it's actually going on right now. The NBA started about maybe a month ago,
Okay.
just a little over a month ago, and they're in a bubble, down in Orlando, and everyone they get tested every day. So far haven't been any incidents. Everyone's crossing their fingers and praying. It's picked up since that has started. We've picked right back up. We recording, and before that, our last episode was back in March, pre all the COVID and the restrictions that happened, because there wasn't a lot to talk about, and everyone was kind of bunkering down with their families. So NBA players as well, as they're millionaires, but they have lives too.
They were all stay at home as well. So that's all going on, and in the midst of all this, I think COVID hit a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And I think between, the three of us here, I think we've got a good variety. Myself has kind of just been, the whole stay at home. We immediately pretty quickly went to the whole work from home, and that's kind of been my gig right here. I mean, this is where I sit every day. Justin, yours has been a little different. Do you want to touch on that for a second?
So I have a job that actually directly supports the military in the private sector. So we have been essential from day one. I live in Washington State, which is obviously been in the news a lot back in the early days as well, for potentially some of the first cases. And I've been reporting to work pretty much every day as normal, but with COVID restrictions, and with, obviously the concerns that go with going to work while the virus was beginning to be understood a little bit, and when everything was still very unknown, I would say. I have worked from home for a couple weeks throughout the whole experience, teleworking, but for the most part, our team works with their hands and works on machinery and in machinery. and requires people to be there every day. So yeah, that my perspective is a little different, definitely.
Yeah, and you're also kind of in work from home, but that's kind of changed here and there, right? So how's that been for you?
No, I mean it's right when all the restrictions came in, it was work from home. Um, so I'm a lawyer and I work for a manufacturing company. It's industrial
Hmm.
manufacturer. They manufacture capital goods like agricultural equipment, tractors,
Hmm.
combines, construction equipment, skid steers, and bulldozers. We have we have a diverse portfolio. We
Yeah.
even do like commercial vehicles and special vehicles with like fire trucks and defense vehicles, semi trucks. We do even do engines.
Oh man.
It's such a diverse
Right. Yeah. Tons of stuff.
manufacturing company. Yeah, and so it's just um, right when it all hit, it was mandatory work from home.
Hmm. Yeah. And then it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? I mean, maybe a lot of people out there have been through similar stuff, but yeah, give us that chapter in your life and uh, how things turned.
No, I'm all right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, so when the COVID pandemic hit and
Hmm.
all the state restrictions hit us, right? I was in, I was actually in the middle of a week-long PTO because my son was just born.
Yeah.
And when he was born, he was actually diagnosed with two congenital heart defects, supravalvular aortic stenosis and
Hmm.
pulmonary stenosis.
Right.
It's rare to get both of them. And he happened to be that special person to get
Yep.
it. Basically, it's hard for his heart to pump blood throughout the rest of his body, including his lungs. So
Hmm.
we didn't find out the severity of these defects until about 2-3 weeks after he was born.
Yep.
His case is severe, and he'll eventually need some sort of surgery to correct the defects. And so with like I'll get to you had been mentioning it, but let me
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
get on this with him, with his heart condition and with COVID-19 being around, cases
Hmm.
rising in the U.S. at the time. The doctors basically told us that we needed to bunker down and self-isolate.
Yep.
Of course, this wasn't a problem because everyone was doing that, right? It got a
Right.
little bit
Sure.
more right. It got a little bit more complicated though when other states started to reopen, and our families on both sides went ahead with their family reunions for the summer.
Yeah.
We simply couldn't go. Doctor's orders,
Yeah.
it was hard to tell our family to cancel and also cancel our plane tickets,
Mm.
and not see them in person. It was hard. But we're glad for FaceTime, But to get to that, your point here, to throw another curveball on our situation, and I'm sort of chuckling here, but
Yeah.
just because it's I, you know,
It's very ironic.
right,
It's
The hand that
incredible.
was dealt right here, right? I mean, yeah. Anyway,
right,
continue.
right. Well, when the economy plummeted
Hmm.
downward and businesses closed and the government restrictions were imposed, you heard of massive layoffs, temporary furloughs around the country from Fortune 500 companies or small businesses.
Hmm.
Mom and pop shops closed down. New businesses that were formed weren't able to start well, so they closed down as well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was one of the individuals furloughed by my company. I am a relatively new lawyer, just over 2 years of experience.
Hmm.
Um, and when that happened, I had no choice but to hop on unemployment insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and even with the 600 per pay period bump from the CARES Act that was signed, we were still a lot under from what we were making with my regular salary. A lot of
Right.
people were saying that being furloughed, we're earning more money than if they were just still working. Right? Remember
Right.
that?
Yeah.
For
That whole
some, for
For,
conversation.
some.
right. It was for some. It's not necessarily true, and it wasn't true for us.
Right. Oh.
When we got the notice, my wife and I immediately had what we call like and you might have it as well, a council meeting, a family council meeting.
Sure.
We hold it regularly, and for our family, like kids schooling,
Yep.
plans for specific things going on in our lives, budgeting, and so forth. So we just sat down, made plans what we needed to do to survive financially. We canceled a few subscriptions here and there, took out money
Sure.
from our savings. We cut down and minimized our spending on groceries and so forth.
Right.
And we even made a contingency plan that just in case we were going to be furloughed for an extended period of time, and our savings run out, that we basically were going to take our belongings and then move into my in-laws, who live in southern Utah.
Yeah.
We even thought about applying for other jobs, but no one was hiring at the time.
Right.
It's been hard, and I know many
Yeah.
other people are experiencing hardships as well, even
Yeah.
right now.
Yep.
And some people might even experience even more difficult situations. And I pray for them and hope that the situation gets better. But that's sort of what happened to us. It was kind of twofold, right? With my son.
Kind of a one-two punch there.
Right. And then the
to the
furlough.
family, man. But I like what you mentioned about the family council for maybe audience who hasn't had one or first time hearing that. I mean, I don't. I guess informally, I think I use them. Just I don't know if you do, but we could maybe dive into a few details of what they are, because I think that could be very helpful for them. I don't know.
I think so too. Absolutely. It sounds like, I guess the question I've got
Yeah, go
was
ahead.
just, did you have any inklings, was there anything like, okay, this is getting serious? And was there information flowing at work? Was there rumor? Was there anything like that to give you any indication of what may be coming
Oh
going
yeah, I
forward?
mean, obviously, I think um, there were already furloughs that had happened before I
Oh,
received
okay.
the notice,
Mm.
and so I knew, we knew that it was going on around the company. Everyone was doing it, Google,
Okay.
Microsoft,
Gotcha.
everybody, right? But also our own
Yeah.
company as well. And so yeah, we did receive. We were trying to prepare ourselves.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We thought for sure that we wouldn't be affected,
Yeah.
because businesses need the lawyers there
Mhm.
to keep the lights up. But nope, that wasn't the case for me.
Yeah.
When you had that family council meeting, you mentioned some of the things you guys talked about, and it sounds like you had layers to your kind of contingency, right? If
Right,
this, then this, if this, then this.
Mhm.
right.
So I know for myself, my spouse would have a really difficult time, and myself as well, getting deeper and deeper into the severity, right? Of
Yeah,
what if,
Yeah.
okay, maybe this is likely, maybe this is unlikely. So, not to go into every aspect of that conversation, but how do you do that with your spouse, right? How do you have that kind of topic or discussion about a topic that's scary, like literally, it's concerning,
Yeah.
right?
right. I think it's a learning experience, honestly. I think that with every topic, as because these sorts of situations, trials, they bring about anxiety and which can lead to depression. So you have to tread carefully, but you
Mhm.
have to
Yeah.
talk about them as a family, because especially as as spouses, and I think that we both knew how serious this was,
Mhm.
and how it could affect us, financially and other aspects of our lives. So I think that once that was sort of set in the back of our minds, at least it was, it was set in the back of my mind, that it was serious enough that we needed to be thorough in our planning here. Then we kind of just we had to go through it. It was a learning experience, and I think that it's it's hard to do, and it's hard to face up front, um, when you're hit with a situation like that. But I think you just, as a couple, you kind of hold your hands together, and try and move forward with, and trying to decide what would be the best course of action, as we talk about it, and plan what's next. What are we going to do here?
So a big question I have is with all this going on, you know, another kid joining the family,
Yeah.
and Justin, I'll open this to you as well. Kind of a two-part. I'll come back. I'll ask you first. Is through all that, what really, the council? I think that's great advice. What other things kind of, helped you through that furlough phase?
Right.
Helped you, as a father through the family, and then Justin, that's kind of the open-ended question here is just what as fathers, how can we help strengthen and help, our spouses, our children, at this time, like be that source of strength and hope?
Yeah, it's a great question.
No,
So,
I think that is that is a good question, and I think you're right that I think as fathers, I think we need to be strong, and you have to find that source of strength somewhere.
mhm,
And for me, in during this experience, I did find that strength and find that hope, and I think I can only speak for myself, not
mhm,
my wife. My wife, she's a strong woman, and collects her own strength and hope from her own sources and experiences. But we're not too dissimilar in our sources, right? But
yeah,
for me, my and this is going to be a little, get a little personal here. My hope stemmed from my past experiences dealing with trials, in particular, and Chaz, you know, Justin, I don't, I've never told you guys,
yeah.
my experience, being, in particular, my experience being detained, in an immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE, detention
Oh, wow.
facility.
Wow,
Um,
no kidding.
I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen. I didn't become a citizen until I was 28 years old. And in fact, it was just a few days after graduating law school and being sworn in as an attorney that
Hmm.
I became a citizen, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
That you can do that. But let's just say that the process for obtaining your citizenship is a long and an expensive process. I won't get into too much detail there,
Hmm.
but I was not always living here legally in the U.S. and almost and getting to this experience was almost a decade ago, and
Wow.
I was detained by border patrol after the police pulled me over, because of a broken taillight. We were heading down to the church to go play basketball.
Oh, jeez.
And
Oh.
when they found out that I was undocumented, I was immediately passed over to the border patrol and ICE.
Hmm.
I thought I'd
Holy
never,
cow.
dude. It was a scary moment. I thought I would never see my family again,
Yeah.
nor my wife, and she wasn't my wife back then. She was just my girlfriend,
Yeah.
or my friends. I was going to be, the thought sunk in, and I had to accept that I was going to be deported back to the Philippines. And I was I was
Man.
placed in a detention center in Southern California with other immigrants who were in removal proceedings or deportation
Hmm.
proceedings. It was, like I said, it was a very traumatic experience, and in fact, for several years after, I had nightmares about it.
Hmm.
But I think even in the midst of this experience that I was having, I did find hope.
Yeah.
And I think it was through my own faith and belief system in God that got me through it.
Hmm.
It was reading the scriptures, and it
Yeah.
was trying to accept what was going on around me, all the while trying to gather some spiritual and internal strength, uh, to kind of, to press forward, and kind of accept what was going to be happening, going forward. And to make a long story short, I stayed there for about 2 weeks, but was later released on my own recognizance,
Hmm.
to go back home. And in thinking about that, those moments in the detention facility, I grew so much as a person, grew
Hmm.
spiritually. My internal strength to handle hardships grew. It was a seminal moment for me, and I guess I use the strength I gained from that experience to help me keep my chin up, to keep moving forward whenever I'm going through any trials. Each trial, of course, is different, but I think that it's those intangible and uplifting lessons
Mm-hmm.
from that experience in the detention facility that really helped me, get through other trials since then,
Yeah.
including the trials that we're facing today with the pandemic and my son's heart defects. We're
Yep.
still in the thick of it, of course, but I'm hopeful. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I'm yeah, I mentioned that I was furloughed. I'm back working now. My son's condition is slowly progressing, but he still is due for a surgery to correct those heart defects.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I really have any concrete messages to your audience, other than perhaps that hope can be found in the
Mm-hmm.
midst of hardships. It's up to us to find it. For me, I was blessed to have the faith and belief system I already had in place that initially helped me, get through that experience in the detention center. And then I take those lessons, the experience that I had, and carry it with me through all the other subsequent trials that I've faced since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man,
That's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
same feelings here. It's just, I think if anything, I mean, just hearing your story and that you could find hope. I mean, if
Right.
that in and of itself for me, even with my sources, that helps as well. Just hearing it and hearing that you're getting through and you're head in the right direction and things are looking up. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Man.
No doubt there's people out there right now who this pandemic and its effects in their lives, whether it's economically, mentally, spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
they're feeling and probably relating to that type of experience of feeling so, I mean, imprisoned. And I don't say that to make light of what you went through, but
yeah, there's definitely some parallels there, even in the,
yeah.
I mean, in cabin fever, right? I mean, you can feel trapped in your own home. Like, I mean, this whole thing that's going on. So, but yeah, I love the sources too, right? Faith, beliefs in God, those type of
Mm-hmm.
scriptures. I know for me, a big thing that has helped with just keeping the anxiety down and being that kind of source of strength and hey, this is fine, we can make it through this another day, has been for me a big one is prayer. That really through this whole thing has hit home for me and been something I've relied even more on. So I don't know, Justin, what about you? What's been in your toolbox for this?
Yeah.
This
well
your family
both
situation, everything.
Both what you guys are both relaying that comes to my mind is just how dark it is at times in our lives, and the contrast. The only thing that provides real contrast in those darkest moments are sources of light. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm not going to go preachy to anybody in the audience, and don't want anybody to shut off their device right now or go to our next episode. I'm not going to preach to anybody. But it's just, I mean, it's scientific, right? In those literal moments of darkness, light can be introduced, and that provides all the contrast in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where fear, that edge of where the light is shining in the darkness in those moments, I can totally relate to, Ioua, are the times when fear gets dispelled, right? And your courage gets built. And how amazing that you can look back in the past and draw on that still.
Yep.
Not just draw on the light, but that experience of overcoming those fears and enduring that. In terms of, being able to endure what we're going through now and doing that as a father, one of the things that has helped our family out a lot is just kind of being transparent about it with our kids. And letting them know that the reason why we're not going out and doing certain things, not going to see grandma, is because of a virus. Now, given you have to cater that to the age and appropriation level of your kids, right?
Right.
and it helps because I'm not very smart or technical to explain it to my kids. But just today, we're
Yeah.
kind of having some family time today, and our girls say, "I really want to go to grandma's house," and we say, "Yeah, we want to go to grandma's house too." And my daughter says, "But we can't go right now because of the virus, huh?" And we said, "That's right. We don't want to go right now because of the virus, but someday we will." And I think that's what it is, everybody,
Mm-hmm.
is you have to face that fear, and
Right.
then you have to have that, but it's going to get better because it is, right? And and draw on those past sources of strength. And a lot of times it's all about perspective. And with this situation that we're all in, the impacts, whether it's again, with employment, um, overall, it's a situation that I think lends itself to discouragement. And so just think through your life on what combats that discouragement. I think you guys both gave great examples from your life as well as resources that you draw on. I like to think as well that as you huddle together, and you had a great example of that from the get-go of the conversation about just circling up with your family, having that counsel and saying, let's all talk about this. Let's all share where we're at. Let's make a plan and let's be united in this way. And we can't necessarily do that at work. We can't necessarily do that in our communities, but we can do that in our homes. We can do that in our relationships. So anyway, that's super long-winded. Wow, I'm kind of rattling, but I'm really inspired by you guys.
Oh no, I think this is great. And if for those, this is making me think back to our last episode, right? Be a student of yourself. I think you brought that up. You're relying on things in your past that made you stronger, and I think we have those particular experiences for various reasons, but they can be sources of learning, of strength. So look back, look into yourself, study yourself, and you will find, that strength. Quick thoughts, kind of rapid fire for the audience here. Still on the same topics here, but the whole work from home, love it or hate it. And what are you doing to help survive that piece and how that's affecting the family? Quick answers. Ready, go.
I think that Justin had it right there. You were talking about being transparent with your family. I think you have to, with our family, we were transparent about our son, and then also transparent about the COVID-19 and what was going on, why we couldn't visit family. But then you also had to be transparent about, I'm working from home now. Your dad has to work from home. It's going to be hard because I know you want to play with me, right? And having this conversation with the 5-year-old, it's going to be hard but once, I can take breaks here and there, I'm going to be here, and I'll see you around. It's going to be a little bit different. And at least you're seeing me, I think transparency goes a long way.
Yeah. Great. Are you loving the work from home part of it, or are you like itching to get back to the office, or are you in the middle camp? Like,
I think I'm in the middle camp. I think you're obviously more productive when you're working in your office, cooped up in your office and working on projects. But I think that I do like the work from home. I like the flexibility. I've had the flexibility before,
when needed,
right? Or just whenever I wanted. But I think that with it being mandatory, it changes the dynamics a little bit. And but I do like it. I mean, I like that I get to spend a lot more time with my family. I get to see my son grow up, while before with my daughter, my oldest daughter, I didn't get to see her as much and grow up as when she was
all
a
the
baby.
small day-to-day stuff that you might miss when you're at work. This stuff you get text like, hey, look, watch this video, or
Right.
look at what they're doing now.
Exactly,
those things you can be present.
You're right there
for a bunch of those. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Justin, what about you? Which camp are you in? And I mean, because you had a little taste of it, and then you kind of
relatively small taste.
Yep.
I think it's a beautiful thing to have the flexibility to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really, really hard to collaborate in some of those settings where I manage projects and programs, and it's really difficult to get some of the finer details over to a team when you're not face to face. But here's what I think ultimately, and I have to work on this, but I think ultimately the most difficult part of the collaboration remotely is kind of the accountability and in the Army we call it suspense, or in other words, kind of the deadlines of like, hey, this is when this is really important that we get this together. But hey, our team struggled a little bit teleworking, and for the most part, our team is back in person, and at least what they're telling me for their own home lives, we got people in various different situations in their background, and they enjoy being together, and I enjoy seeing that. But I also know that when it comes down to keeping everybody safe, we got to do what we got to do. So I hope that there are teams and organizations that do adopt some flexibility with this. I think, as a person with a family and I can relate to having children and young children born with complications. My son had meningitis 2 weeks, contracted meningitis 2 weeks after he was born, and was in the hospital for over a month. And it's just a matter of, did I want to work at that time? Not necessarily, but at some point I was ready to move on from the crisis and try and get something more stable in my life. And unfortunately at that time it meant being away from home. I think there's situations where it'll lend itself in the future, I hope, to really being a help for people to have the option. What do you think, Chess?
Yeah, I'm in the I'd say I'm in the kind of really loving the work from home, and I hopefully, cross my fingers, fall into one of those camps where it's like, yeah, for this particular industry and this particular job role, or this team, where, I think it took some of the other groups that I collaborate with at work to get up to speed and kind of get in the groove, and all that. But my team, like honestly, like there were times where I would sit next to my boss and we would both hop on a Skype call at our desk to talk to these other people because they were in the same building. And so it's like, we're not going to go huddle in which we also did. We would go into a conference room and it'd just be us two video conferencing someone else. So it's like, we went to work to use video conferencing hardware to video conference other people. Now, obviously we met with the people around us and all of that.
Sure.
But being such a global company and so widespread in the different departments and groups, and it kind of makes sense. And, I same thing here. Like I've had to talk to my 5-year-old, be like, I'm here. Yes, you want to play? Like every hour he asks Google how many more minutes are left on the timer before dad gets a lunch break. And then the timer is immediately set after lunch for how many minutes until dad gets off work. And it's just countdown all day long, which is cute. And so I love being able to be here and be that, because for us, he's the only kid. He's the only one we've been able to have. And that's tough because he loves going to play with all his friends. And so I get to be that friend for now, and go and play and, play Legos and Hot Wheels and all those other fun things. So that is different, but I and maybe it's just me, maybe this, unicorn group out here that like some of you maybe like me, I get a lot done and I actually sit here and I am working for at least the 8 hours a day. I'm checking in on my phone, all these other things. And maybe it's the projects we have, all that type of stuff.
Does it go by quickly?
That's my camp. Yeah.
Does it go by quickly for you? Does a day go by quickly when you're working from home?
It does. It just flies by. I mean, other days, less, but typically, yeah, I'd say so. So
I experienced that too. Again, whether the right word is irony, maybe it's not, maybe it's scientific, maybe it's something that'll be understood later as part of an outcome of this pandemic. But I felt time go by quickly.
Yeah, I think overall, though, I think you nailed it, Justin. That hopefully people see this as an opportunity. These crisis also gives a lot of companies opportunities, to improve their employees' work-life balance, to improve all these other things, make the necessary technology improvements, and add that flexibility. I think everybody wants that flexibility to be able to use it when they can. And maybe before, if they couldn't and it was really stringent, it's like, no, you're always here. But to be like, oh yeah, you can actually still get some stuff done. We can be more flexible. I mean, and they've been more flexible too, or we have with, I think, employers, opening our lives, our cell phones, all these things. Like, you can get a text, you can get email,
Sure.
like on, in the evenings, and sometimes you feel like you need to reply to those. Anyway, that's like probably a whole nother topic, but I think we've opened our lives a bit more, and now this is offering an opportunity to them kind of give back as well. It's kind of this ebb and flow instead of these hard line rules that used to be followed. So yeah, great.
Epic,
So
man.
if you had to wrap it up, any last words, any last minute thoughts, last minute tips for anybody out there?
I think it's just, keep moving forward. You have to find hope, somewhere, and use it to strengthen yourself and get through the situations that you're going through. I think that's, for me at least, that's my final words.
Yeah, great. Justin, anything?
No, it's a great point. Something that I've been thinking about over this conversation was times when I was going to work and nobody else was on the highway, on the interstate. And I go north to south on I-5 out in Seattle. And so no one else on the interstate is typically only found at like 2 a.m, right? And I'd go to work, and our field team would be there, and I'd be there to support them. And come home and working with, my spouse and our kids, it's just really easy to feel alone. Really, really easy. It's easy to feel lonely. This public health crisis is such that, it has a lot of mental health implications as well.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree. Draw strength and focus on your relationships. Focus on the relationships that you have. Build them, make them better. I like what you said, Chaz. I hope I'm not stealing your fire.
Yeah,
But like we talked about on previous episodes, just find strength from the person in the mirror, because there is strength there. You have done difficult things. You have endured things that are difficult in the past. And I'm not talking to Chaz. I'm talking to everybody out there.
Yeah.
You've done difficult things. Take strength in that, and don't allow this situation to overwhelm you. It's really easy to let it happen, but you gotta keep pressing on.
Yeah,
Chaz.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with what you guys said. I think that's great. One thing I'll add that to not reiterate what's already been mentioned is, I think community, your tribe. Who's your tribe? Who's your community? That, I mean, it's obviously the people closest to you in your house, like with you, your coworkers.
Right.
Right.
But that may extend, to family, friends, community, and be open and transparent with them. I think a lot of the times, our go-to phrase is like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. Well, like you might be able. I get that for like complete strangers that are just like, hey, I haven't seen you in 30 years. Like, how you doing? Like, okay, but I mean, now's not the time to like keep that all inside, right? I mean,
Right.
There's a lot
Go
going
through
on, right? We talked about anxiety, depression, all these things that can come up in these scenarios. And I think you just need to be like, hey, I need a guy's night, or I need a break. I need to, kind of unplug, or whatever it might be open about those things that you need, right? Because it's those times, like, you don't want to, like you said, you may feel imprisoned in your home, you may feel imprisoned and isolated at work because you're the only one doing that, or all these various situations of everybody out there. So I think find that strength also in community, find people you can be committed with, held accountable with, those types of things. And I think, again, back to family council, that's the place to start with that, and then grow that circle of who influences in your life, and continue to grow those ties. I mean, you mentioned it, Justin, with relationships, and so I think tying all those things together can bring a lot of strength and hope, right? And you can help each other along the way. for all those things. Like we all need help at certain times, and some people struggle with that, and that's okay. Like it's not easy to be like, hey, yeah, can you help me out here? Like, or, so I think just be open to that. And I think, you brought that up earlier, just that openness, that communication, and just expand that, because we need each other more now, I think, than we did. And I think we're realizing that. And
Absolutely.
it makes the hard days so much easier when you have that tribe and stuff to go to. And maybe if you're trying to search for that, my one caveat here would be, if you're trying to search for that through like your social media followers and things like that, you probably aren't going to find it there.
May not be the right tribe, are you saying?
I mean, I think it's the right tribe for certain things. It's not the right tribe for this.
You're right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my two.
Agreed.
So
You need people who have emotional depth and not just opinions.
mhm. Yeah. I mean,
Yes,
Fair enough.
Click the next app over instead of, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, Snapchat, whatever those non-sponsors here. Anyway, go a few over to the phone, go a few over to FaceTime and connect, or use some of those other apps. Just they're hovering.
The neighbor you don't know, you live beside for a while.
Yeah.
Because they're going through something too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Your community, backdoor neighbors, side. Anyway, so yeah, reach out. Again, everybody, thank you for listening. Ioua, appreciate you joining, giving us your insights, your story.
Hey, no problem.
Very inspirational.
Yes, thank you so
very much
much
for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. I loved it and enjoyed being on the show.
All right, everybody, it's time for the Mentor Minute. Today, I would like to share some resources with everybody. Today, here I've got for you this cool tool for Basecamp. It's not the software that I'm going to talk about, but these books. So this company, by the way, I mean, if you need it, use it. It's amazing. I like it. I used it for quite a while. Currently not a user, but I have read Remote, Rework. It doesn't have to be crazy at work. And I didn't even know this till I looked at this today. They have this shape up. So really, I want to focus here in on this book called Rework. It doesn't have to be crazy at work and remote. So for those of you working remote, your company's, getting used to this whole idea of remote work, or even how to work. These are great resources. It tells you how to be more productive. They've got some really good culture in their company about these different tools. So I check them out. Really good sources of information. You can get the audio cut. You can get the Audible version and just listen to these if you got some time for that. But check him out, Jason Fried. He's the one that started Basecamp. He's also the one that wrote Ruby on Rails, and Basecamp is based off that, and it's their only product. Anyway, they do some real cool stuff. Check it out. Hopefully these are some great resources for you. Hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Everybody, thank you for spending the time with us today. We hope you like today's podcast. Make sure you like and you hit subscribe as well. Share it with your friends. Share the hope. Rise up with us. We'll see you soon.